There's a story to be told, a future to behold. There is more to who we are than what they hear. We have love within our soul, fire in our bones. We've got everything it takes to make it here. There's much more within our soil, more than just our oil. We can grow the food to feed the whole world square. Agriculture is the key. There's treasure in the trees. The time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. This is our nation, this is our land. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. There are 200 billion dreams. Any one of these is able to begin a spark and change the world. There's innovation everywhere, from Abba to Ife to Kaduna. The land is green, the wealth is here. Yeah, this is our nation, this is our land. Yeah. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here.
If you take a look around from the north to south, there are opportunities to make it here. But if all you ever dream is to go overseas, tell me how you'll ever know that wealth is here. Oh, yeah, oh.
This is our nation, this is our land. Oh, Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here. So pass on the baton, pass on the torch. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here. Oh yeah. So this is our nation, this is our land. Oh yeah. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here.
What sector has enough potential to cater for the growing population in Nigeria? What sector is bubbling with diverse and profitable opportunities? What sector can enhance the Nigerian economy and propel you to thrive? How can you tap into this sector? Be a part of the Business of Agriculture Masterclass, coming up from the 5th to 7th of July 2021. 3 days, 9 sessions, 15 speakers, and 7 value chains. Tap into profitable opportunities in agriculture, build wealth, achieve financial freedom. Visit www.businessofagriculture.org and register for the free Business of Agriculture Masterclass, designed to make you think agri. This is brought to you by the Private Sector Advisory Group of the UN SDG Fund.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the inaugural Business of Agriculture Masterclass. You are welcome to the section on the business of aquaculture. I am Professor Bamidele Oluwarotimi Omitoyin from the Department of Aquaculture and Fisheries Management, University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and I will be your moderator for this session. Fish remains the cheapest source of good protein in the diets of greater population of Nigerians, and its quality in terms of nutritional value is impressive because of its rich display of amino acid, and also because of high level of vitamins that is present in the fish. Of even greater impact is affordability, of the protein source, and it is also cheaper than beef, pork, and other meat sources. Nigeria owns a great significant coastline of 853 kilometers and over 14 million hectares of inland water, with 75% being moderately suitable and about 112,085 kilometers square assessed as very suitable for aquaculture production. Nigeria now ranks among Africa's largest producer of fish, only second to Egypt, whose aquaculture production have Nigeria as its main African market destination. Fish consumption accounts for over 40% of the protein sources consumed in Nigeria, with annual consumption of about 3.2 million metric tons, of which 2.1 million metric tons are provide a detailed context on the business opportunities in the value chain, and we provide insight on ways and what is required to start a thriving fish enterprise. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we explore more on the aquaculture value chain in Nigeria. Welcome back. Before we go to the panel discussion, I will give an overview of the business of aquaculture in Nigeria. Next slide. Why aquaculture? Aquaculture is very important in Nigeria. It has a growth rate, an annual growth rate of about 12%. This annual growth rate is greater than the global 8%, according to FAO 2017. Also, fish and fishery products are the most preferred sources of protein in Nigeria, accounting for about 40% of protein consumed by our people. This is a huge percentage. And when you look at Nigeria in terms of demand for fish, about 3.5 million metric tons is our demand for fish every year. And our total production, both from inland, from industrial, and from aquaculture, is about 1.027 million metric tons. It means that we have a deficit of about 2.5 million tons. This is a huge gap. And this gap is currently being filled by fish importation, with its attendant high import bill that is eating into the Nigerian foreign exchange. Currently, about 300,000 metric tons of fish is being produced in the aquaculture sector. This, you will note, that is very small compared to our potential. However, the deficit that we have in aquaculture, the gap can easily be filled. The gap can be filled because aquaculture offered the only realistic hope for sustainable fish production and for meeting the shortfall in our fish production. When you look at the Nigerian water system, it is very favorable for aquaculture production. Nigeria has about 853 kilometer coastline. And we also have a continental shelf of about 200 nautical miles. And we have water resources, inland water, of about 14 million hectares. 112,085 kilometers square have been adjudged as very suitable for aquaculture production. This is a big advantage and is a big resources for us to tap into in the aquaculture sector. Moreover, when you look at feed conversion ratio of livestock, aquaculture has the best. Aquaculture has an average of 1.3, that is 1.3 kg of feed fed to fish will give you 1 kilo weight of fish. This is an average. However, in Nigeria, we have achieved 1:1, we have achieved 1.0, we have achieved 1.2, but this is a global average compared to 1.8 for cattle, 3.9 for pork, and 1.9 for chicken. Next slide. Quickly, we will look at aquaculture business at every segment of the value chain. I want to say that at every segment of aquaculture value chain, we have business opportunities, immense business opportunities. And I will take them one by one. We have the input supply, we have the fish production, we have the post-harvest, we have the processing, and we have the marketing. I will take the segment one by one. When you look at the input supply section, there is a huge opportunity for would-be investors, particularly in the supply of fish production inputs. When you want to establish a fish farm, you will need some inputs. You will need nets, you will need weighing balance, you will need lime, you will need feed, you will need fingerlings, you will need so many other equipment. You want to go into cage culture, you need the cages you will use, you will need the other facility. For instance, somebody wants to go into production, you will need a concrete tank, you will need earthen pond. You will also need, some people may need reinforced plastic tanks. All these offer a huge opportunity for those who are involved in it. And then when you go to fish production, in fish production, there are various nodes in the segment of fish production. You have the grow-outs. The grow-outs are people who raise their fish from fingerlings of juvenile to table size. You have those who are involved in seed production. Those ones just specialize in fingerling and juvenile production. Theirs is to produce the fingerlings and the juvenile that the grow-out farmers will need. We have those who are involved in broodstock production. Their own is to develop broodstock, the parent stock that those who are involved in hatchery operation we buy from. Then some can decide to go into cage culture. We have many of our water bodies across the country now where cage culture are being engaged. And this is a huge opportunity. There are some also that may go into ornamental fish farming. There are some that can also go into shellfish farming. Already we have some company involved in shrimp production in Nigeria now. There are still a lot of huge opportunity for other shellfishes like crab, oysters to be cultivated in the country. Then when you look at the post-harvest section, after harvesting, the next thing is to ensure that the products are presented to the members of public in the right quality and in the right way. And hence, we will need technologies for preservation, storage, and transportation of these products to their final destination. So there are a huge lot of investment opportunity along this node. And then when you come to processing, that is value addition. Value addition will ensure that the products, initial products, are transformed to other products from fish. For instance, the most popular currently in Nigeria is smoked fish, that is smoke drying of fish. But we can also go into filleting. We can go into canning. We can make other fish products like fish cracker. We can make fish cake. You can make fish meal using the waste material from processed fish to convert to fish meal. We can make fish silage. We can make fish sausage. Even you can remove the skin of the fish and use this as leather, which can be used in making slippers and sandals. The fish oil is also there. It is endless. The chain is endless. And then the marketing node. The marketing could be wholesale, it could be retail, it could be at national level, it could be at regional level, it can be at international level. And you can also distribution. You can distribute fish. Some people specialize in just distribution of fish. All they do is just, you need to send fish to somewhere, your finished product, just call them. They will pick it and deliver it. There is a huge lot of opportunity in all this aquaculture node. Next slide. Investment in aquaculture business, what will it do to us as individuals, as Nigerians, and to our economy as a nation? Of course, it will produce food and services to more than 50% of 2 million Nigerian population. Of course, this will create job opportunity. It will create wealth. It will reduce poverty. It will enhance food nutrition. And it will also reduce crime rate. An idle hand is the devil's workshop. Currently in the aquaculture sector, we have about, according to FDF 2019, we have about 1 million jobs created along the value chain. But we know with our population, aquaculture alone can create jobs for more than 50 million Nigerians. And when this happens, it's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to generate income. It's going to reduce malnutrition, ensure sufficiency in fish food production. And also it will reduce the amount of money Nigeria is spending on importing fish. At the same time, we can also export fish to other countries after we have met our own local need. And all these will lead to national economic development. Next slide. Thank you very much. This is one of the reasons why we need to invest in aquaculture. In order to help you better appreciate the aquaculture sector, I will be talking to a panel of experts, and we will take a deeper dive into choosing the right aquaculture-based agribusiness to venture into. Understanding the aquaculture market, we will look at starting an aquaculture business and how we can invest in an aquaculture business. In the meantime, we'll take a short break. welcome back. I hope you have your writing materials ready because we are just getting started. This morning we have a number of experts with us today to analyze the aquaculture value chain in Nigeria and the business opportunity that exists in this sector. Our first panelist is Mr. Steve Okelly, the CEO of Aquatic Hub Afrique. Mr. Okelly founded Fish Oil Nigerian, focusing on fingerling and juvenile production, presently with a production capacity of about 5.2 million fingerling per annum. He has worked and have businesses with several national and regional organizations. Currently, Mr. Steve also established Aquatic Hub Afrique Network, which focuses on providing training and support for youth, women, smallholder farmers, graduates, and players in the aqua industry along the value chain. Mr. Steve, you are welcome to on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Our next panelist is Mrs. Olaju Mckay.
Good morning.
Thank you. Mrs. Olaju Mckay is the Director of Agricultural Technical Services for Lagos State Agricultural Development Authority. With over 25 years of experience in agricultural space, she's a certified Prince 2 project manager and has served in various capacities in the Lagos State and World Bank funded projects. Mrs. Olaju Mckay, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, all viewers.
Thank you. Please, you can mute your mic. Our final panelist for this session is Mr. Okelly Sejiro Michael. He's the CEO. Mr. Sejiro is the CEO of Search Farm Venture. He's also the current Vice President of Lagos State Catfish and Allied Farmer Association. He's a seasoned and accomplished consultant, and he's been involved in numerous projects. His farm also has the capacity to produce over 5 million fingerlings, and because of his activities, he was sponsored to an international training program in Israel in 2018. Mr. Sejiro, you are very much welcome on board.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much. I welcome all our panelists to this session on the business of aquaculture. Going forward now, I'll be asking you specific questions around the dynamics of starting and thriving in aquaculture business to give our audience useful insights and information on the aquaculture value chain. I would start with choosing an aquaculture-based agribusiness. I will direct my first question to Mr. Steve, and then others can then contribute to it. What are the different business models that one can engage in aquaculture, and how can one identify appropriate business to venture into?
Thank you, Prof. And I want to thank you again for the lucid overview you gave earlier. It was very explanatory. And I want to believe our viewers listened to Prof very well. You've been able to x-ray the entire value chain of aquaculture and the opportunities along the value chain. And for the question you've asked me, the answers are also in your lucid explanation for conceptualizing the idea of setting up or going into the aquaculture business. Number one, any interested person should, first of all, ask the basic question. And the first question to ask is, do I have enough knowledge? Because you cannot embark on aquaculture projects or anything at all without having the right knowledge. And so, like you rightly, explained earlier on during your overview, interested parties can choose to, number one, identify the opportunities along the value chain of aquaculture. It could be for fingerling production, it could be for broodstock production, it could be for fish processing, it could be for packaging, it could be you play along the dry chain or the cold chain. And these are opportunities along this. And this will help you form the model that suits your business plan. Because if you do not have a viable model, or if you do not have a good strategy to approach or to implement your said designed model, you are bound to fail. And so the onus lies on whoever is going to be going into the aquaculture business to, number one, do what I call a self-appraisal. You need to ask yourself, do I have the basic knowledge and requirement and resources to be able to run this project the way it ought to run? But you must first of all identify what exactly you want to do. And like Prof rightly explained, any interested persons can quickly identify some of these and then draw a particular model towards achieving it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Steve. Jumake, can you, in 1 minute, add to what Steve has said? Unmute yourself, please. Olajumake, unmute yourself. Okay. Olajumake, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Sejiro, just in a minute. Yeah, please, can you contribute to that point?
Okay, very good background for me to contribute. First and foremost, Prof has dealt with virtually in a short while. You summarized every possibility in the aquaculture space, which is a good background for what we're about doing today. What our advice is, for like Steve said earlier on, you need to know where your strength lies. You can't be a whole. It's a whole lot of business, so you can't be a whole. You can only be a part of a whole, and that's where specialization comes in. You don't need to start your aquaculture business by wanting to be in every of the value chains. You need to understand what you have in terms of space, in terms of resources, in terms of background, your skills, your career, before you can decide to model or before you can decide to go all into an aspect of aquaculture. And specialization is what would make the business thrive across the value chain. Some can be in marketing. You don't have to be in production if you know you have all the skills to be a good marketer. And the marketing end of every value chain, I think, is about the most profiting and the less stressful. All you need basically is maybe the logistics. You just need to invest more in your logistics. And if you want to go into production, you need to consider some factors too. You need to consider location. You need to carry out environmental impact assessment of, of the location you want to use for production. Are you going to constitute environmental nuisance to the environment or to the place you want to use? Is your business not going to be hindered by other activities within that region? So you need to put all of these into consideration before you decide that, okay, I want to specialize in aspect of agriculture. Then finally, like Steve said, you need to get skilled up. You need the requisite knowledge before you can venture the business so that you won't fail from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Olajumake, please can you just
Yes.
1 minute
Say something. Okay.
that?
Well, I quite agree with what all the other panelists have said. However, you can, of course, if you have the technical know-how, you can decide to form your own kind of niche. You know, the way it is now, you find out that everybody is into catfish, the regular catfish production. You might choose to go into a more technical, you know, smaller production, such that at the end of the day, you are standing out, you know, such that whatever you have there and you are putting out in the market stands out and fits for you. So the model that you would actually go for is dependent on all those factors that they have mentioned, the resources that is available to you, and even the location you are. If because there are some aquaculture species that don't do well in concrete ponds. They have like location specific. So all of those will add to what the other panelists have said in your choice of appropriate aquaculture model to go into.
Olajumake, thank you very much. Quickly, I want Sejiro to answer this question first. What are the dominant key challenges, if any, within the value chain one should be wary of when you are managing, and what are the ways to manage these challenges in aquaculture businesses? Just in 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, challenges are inevitable in every endeavor. Some of these challenges are obvious, and some of these challenges are latent until you find yourself in it. And some of the challenges are peculiar to they are location specific, they are region specific, and depending on the value chain you decided to put decided to put in your resources. So the challenges are diverse. The few obvious challenges, yes, we know as in Nigeria, for instance, we know the challenge of power is there. We know the economic that's electricity supply is one aspect that is one factor that's really militating against the growth of so many businesses, which increases the cost of production. To me, per se, finance is an issue, is a challenge too, but it shouldn't be the first thing that you think about if you're going into business, because there's no business that doesn't require funding. At least you need to get started and get somewhere before you start seeking for external funds that are available and but a bit challenging when you have the right connection. Yes, you can access those funds. It could be frustrating though. But aside that, the most important challenge is the skills acquisition. A lot of people don't have the relevant skills before they dabble into businesses. So they get midway, they get stuck and they can't really continue. Then also the market too. Currently post-COVID, we have a lot of challenges. Yeah, we know purchasing power has dropped, and the economy is really having a store on everyone. So it's not as if people don't want to eat good, but because they can't really afford it now. So the markets for some of these premium farm produce have really dropped. So these are challenges. But the thing there is with innovation and understanding the market, I don't think these challenges can be taken care of. They are not challenges that should take anybody out of business. Then the final one is pricing. It's pricing. A lot of people do their businesses, they do the production, but at the end of the day, they don't sell right. When you've labored so hard, and when it comes to the point of selling, making profit, and you are selling ridiculously way below the cost of production, definitely you're prepared to go out of business. So these are few challenges I'm going to talk on while my other colleagues build on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sejiro. Steve, can you please, in 1 minute, also contribute to this point?
Yeah, Shed nailed it very well. But I just want to emphasize on the aspect of skill and knowledge. You see, you cannot upskill tradition. Quite a number of people in the industry or people trying to get into the industry have been used to a particular tradition, which is the old tradition. And this would always militate against the space or the speed at which we expect the industry to grow. And so for me, I want to say, sir, that it is very important for anybody who wants to venture into the aquaculture business to arm himself or herself with a lot of knowledge to be able to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mckay, please can you, in 1 minute?
Yes, what I would add, all that have been said are well said, but a dominant key challenge that aquaculturists face is the quality of input. That's the seed, the quality of seed and the quality of feed. So, and basically, aquaculture is like garbage in, garbage out. If you are not lucky enough to get your input from very reputable sources, I mean, your fund goes down the drain. Then, having said much about the skills for you to engage in a profitable aquaculture business. Another major challenge that you have there is manpower. You find out that that is what kills most of these businesses that you have now. You can't always be there. You know, so you need to. It's security for your funds, investment, and of course security of with what is going on now, life, property, and all of that. So that is, I believe, is a key factor and needs proper address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, let us go to understanding the market. We need to understand the market in the aquaculture value chain business. And Steve, I will start with you again. Consumption stroke marketing pattern for different aquaculture products. What are the consumption stroke marketing pattern for different aquaculture products?
I think it is, thank you, sir, Prof. I think it is very important for anybody who wants to venture into aquaculture, or probably people that are already in it, to first of all understand their environment. Know what that environment wants. For example, you grow a fish that is not consumed within that environment, you would end up consuming it alone. So once you understand your environment, and that means you have to carry out a baseline survey too, to also be able to have an idea of what the purchasing power of that environment is like. Okay, I'll give another example of you producing Junakos Niloticus, the so-called Ejauson in Yoruba land.
Yeah.
In an environment where people can hardly, feed very well. The cost of producing gymnacus is very high, and that means you will not be able to sell. So these are just examples of, how consumption also implicates the choice of the farmer, in producing fish. And so, for example, if you feel that, all right, I want to be a fingerling producer of catfish, that is in demand. You can always take it out. People can find you wherever you are. Or you want to be a producer of table fish, that also can suffice. And it's important, really, to understand also the tradition in a particular. I'll give a perfect example of one of my own personal experience. Somewhere in Bielsa, where we used to have a project, we have some smoking kilns there. And we started smoking at some point, started smoking this fish with the smoking kilns. But we discovered that the fishes that were smoked with the smoking kilns could not be sold within Bielsa. And that's a challenge. And that means we have to also find a way to demystify tradition and begin to educate the population and let them know that we need to embrace modern ways of consumption. And so these are just perfect examples of things one should put in place in order to also come to a conclusion to say, this is what I want to produce for this growing population. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Steve. Mckay, please, can you just, in 1 minute, add to what he has said?
Well, I am thinking that the consumption pattern for fingerlings, for juvenile fingerlings, is an all year round. It's such that it's always consumed, as in people get to buy it. People in the aquaculture business, they get to buy it. It's a year in, year out thing. Then on the issue of the grow house, it's such that it is the pattern is higher, is higher towards festive period. So in order for you to be able to make maximum profit from whatever you are doing, you need to do a thorough market research so that you know when the consumption pattern of a particular product is high. So if you know that it's around December that the consumption, which is the case that we have found out from experience, that towards the end of the year, December, January, the consumption pattern for table size is high. So if you are doing that, with your market research, you will know that, okay, if you are stocking your juvenile, you should stock about 4 or 5 months before that time. So that will help. Then, of course, then the issue of smoked fish, the pattern is year in, year out. However, there is an observation, and it is such that, when the water, after just when we've had a lot of rain and the waters are on the high side and you don't have so many fishermen, they can't really go very far to to fish, during those times, the consumption pattern for growers is high. So you need to target those times so that you have a lot of fishes for sale, thereby making the best of whatever you have invested. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Quickly, the next question will go to Sejiro, and in 2 minutes, I want you to wrap it up. How can you identify your customer or off-taker or your target market for an aquaculture business, and what are the pitfalls to avoid in selecting a target market?
Okay, thank you, Prof. First is I'll take you from the pitfalls. You don't bite more than you can chew. You don't produce more than the market wants, and you don't produce what the market doesn't want. Because if you produce what the market doesn't want, you're already in the pit. Yes. So the thing that is, you need to understand your market first before you produce. You need to understand the volume of what the market wants before you produce. You need to understand the size of what the market wants before you produce. You need to understand the quality as well too of what the market wants before you produce. What is your target market? You need to understand. Is it an international market you're targeting? Is it restaurants? Is it hotels? All of these are the things you need to understand. So if you understand these things very well, then you won't fall into any pit to start with. Then the other one, can you help me take the other first question again, sir?
How can you identify the customer for
Yes,
various businesses in the value chain?
yes, the customers are everywhere. You just need to do your market survey first and foremost before you venture into any form of cultural services you want to render. Because already we know there are different factors to be considered, factors of what to produce, which we know we are talking about fish, how to produce. Yes, once you get the skills, you shouldn't have an issue with what to produce. But for whom to produce, that is the customer base, the market that we need to understand, which I can still say from a recent example, we just finished selling tilapia on the cage, on one of the cages, on several cages in Lagos State, for instance. And before we started sales at all, we did a lot of publicity. And initially, we had that fear because tilapia harvest and tilapia sales is not like that of catfish, because they are not as hardy and as catfish, and you experience a lot of post-harvest losses during tilapia harvest. So we were scared and we were trying to avoid all of that. So we did a lot of publicity before we even started sales. And behold, during sales, we could not even meet up with the demand out there, far and near, even across the border. So I think all we just need is do publicity. The internet is there. We have a lot of platforms where you can advertise whatever you have and it will go viral. So I just think all we need to do is do a proper market survey and do the needed publicity for whatever you have and meet up with the required target, size, and quality. Then you are good to go. You are in business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw Steve itching to say something, but let's go to the next. Let's go to the. Okay, let me give you.
No, I was just nodding my head, to agree with what Chef
30
said.
seconds to just mention a point. Steve, go
No, sir,
ahead.
I was just nodding my head to also agree with Shed on what he has said. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, you take. Okay, let's go to. an animal-based agribusiness. That's where we are going now. And Mckay, I will start with you. What kind of skill and competence are required to achieve with?
You may have to go over the question. I can't. It froze while you are talking. It's frozen.
Mckay, go ahead.
Yes, no, I can't even hear.
Okay. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I didn't hear the question. That was why I sent the chat. It froze. I still can't.
What?
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It's crashing. Now I can. Now I can. You are not talking. You are not. Hello, sir.
Very well.
It's frozen. It's cracking.
Loud and clear.
It's cracking.
Steve, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you, sir. But Mrs. Olatunde wants you to repeat the question.
Okay, what skill and competence are required to thrive in the sector? Skill and competence.
Now. Okay. Skill and competence of what? That is required.
That is required in the that is required in the sector. Yes, across the value chain. What skill and competence do you require to go into aquaculture business?
Okay. Well, if you want to go into the aquaculture business, really, the first thing skill you need to know is you need to have a business, a minded kind of thing. You have to, first of all, be able to see aquaculture itself as a business. If you have business mind, that is the first thing that you must have. Then the second thing you would need to do is that you need to have, even if it's just a broad knowledge of what it takes to go into the business. So it's a skill you just have to acquire. Otherwise, you find out that your investment will just be, will just be funds go down the drain. You need to be able to understand, just like you would do with any business whatsoever, to understand humans, because at the end of the day, you are the primary manager of that business. So you need to be broad, number one, if you are not looking at doing specific things in that your aquaculture business. However, if you feel that you have advantages in certain areas, for example, the skill you have is in marketing.
Thank you very much, Mckay.
Okay, sir.
Steve.
Good day, sir.
Hello,
Prof,
Steve?
sir, I can hear you, sir. Prof, sir, I can hear you, sir.
I think he's off.
Prof's
Prof is off.
question is what skills and competencies are necessary, to start up a business in aquaculture?
Thank you. I want to add to what Ms. Olajumoke has said. The basic skills required, or let me say the basic requirements for you to be able to keep a proper details for your business. Number one, you should also go for training and internship with successful models or successful farm owners, because you cannot give what you don't have. You must, as a matter of importance, try to find a successful, I don't want to use the word farmer, but yes, maybe farmer is adequate enough, where scale is being, done. I'm not talking about when you run small businesses. I'm talking about you running on a big scale, because the ultimate goal is that you will one day expand. And like I'm a firm believer of there's no virtue in playing small. Really, yes, you might learn small and grow big, but it's very important that you are able to identify a proper farm to have your internship so that you can understand the basics. Yes, you might be taught in a classroom, but you still need that practical experience to be able to acquire the necessary skills needed for you to succeed. Thank you.
Yeah, Steve is talking about mentoring. Now, finally, let's end this session. What regulation landscape should I be mindful of, and where can I get expert support? Sejiro. Regulation landscape that we should be
Hello?
mindful of, and where can you get expert support?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Can I add to it, Prof?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. In addition to what my two colleagues have said, the passion, interest, skills, and attitude are four important things I'm going to add that we need to have to be successful in this business, because passion is not enough. If you may be passionate about something and not really have that interest, and you may have the interest and not have the passion. You need to understand that you need to marry both. Then the right attitude too. You may have all the skills, you may have all the funds. Your money can fail you if you don't have the right attitude towards business. And attitude entails you having the right kind of discipline, human relations too, good human management of your staff is important. These qualities are important. Then the thing that is, like Steve said, internship, mentorship is another aspect that is making a lot of businesses fail, and also the aquaculture business, because most of the young people there, they go to farms and they see what you're doing on the farm, and they just want to copy and paste. They don't know what you've been through you see Dangote and you want to be like Dangote overnight, forgetting that there are deals he has paid, there are challenges he has overcome. So the same thing. So a lot of young people, surprisingly, like I'm saying, that skills is not enough. The education is not enough. When we graduated in our set way back, I think about 85 of us graduated when we had our BSc. Those of us practicing now, we are not even up to 5 from my set. That means there's something fundamentally wrong somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. The skills is not enough. So you just need the passion, the skills, the attitude, and the interest to really thrive in the aquaculture sector. Thank you.
Okay. Can you still okay? Can you still go ahead and say something about regulation that you should be mindful of, and where can you get expert support?
Yes, when it comes to regulations, we have to be honest with ourselves. In this part of the world, we don't really have that kind of quality control that is expected in terms of doing business across the value chain, and getting the right support. The regulatory agencies are there that would outline all of the standards to be met, the requirements. We have the NAFDAC, we have the SON, we have the ministries of agriculture. And I think every state of this federation has a ministry of agriculture, and we have the extension agents there. So when you get to such ministries, you always get all that is needed. And from those that are doing well too, because the essence of regulation is to it's to meet up with standards, both local and international standards. And these agencies are the ones that are saddled with that responsibility. If mountain cannot go to Mohammed, Mohammed should go to mountain. So if you go to these ministries of agriculture across the country, then you get all of the regulatory requirements. Go to NAFDAC, you get all you need there too. And when it comes to financial services too, you go to the needed financial institutions, and they will give you their guidelines. But you need to act, then you find. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Olajumake, please, in 1 minute, can you add just something to that?
Something. Okay, well, I would say that, well, the regulation landscape is such that, of course, just like you just said, that we have agencies where you can get the expert support. However, the regulation landscape determines quite a number of things. Like, for example, in Lagos, you would say that there are certain things you can't do in certain areas, even as it is that it is aquaculture. You are supposed to cure your water before it goes out to the drains. All of those things are, determine, what obtains around your business. In some areas, you can do your aquaculture. You should be mindful of the laws that guide your business in those areas. For example, there are areas in Lagos where doing your aquaculture business would not be permitted because of the effluent discharge. And just like was said earlier on, I just want to add that whichever way we see it, these regulation agencies, they are doing a lot of they are playing a lot of role in ensuring that let me just put it this way, it is their lack, for example, that has resulted in the ban of export of smoked catfish to US and all of that. So they are there, but they are there, they are not doing well, but they can still do more. So they are there, and we are hoping that very soon things will happen. And I'm aware that the Export Promotion Council, they are at an advanced stage of working on this export of catfish now. So
Thank you very much, Olajumake. Thank you very much, Olajumake. Let's quickly
the
look at the
regulation
final.
and landscape is one.
Let's quickly look at the last segment. That is investing in an aquaculture business. How do I discover investable aquaculture business, and what are critical signals of a healthy, investable aqua business? Steve.
Number one, self-appraisal.
Good.
For you to be able to discover an investable aquaculture business, you must first of all be able to answer that question that are you ready for business? Because the aquaculture business is not child's play. If you can answer that, number two, you have to also look at your environment. Number three, you have to study the market. Number four, you have to look into consumption, what is in demand. And number five, you have to look for how to get the finance. Yes, the knowledge should be number one because it's very important for you to have uh, the basic knowledge to be able to run an aquaculture business. Because finance too is very, very important. You cannot run an aquaculture business without you having reasonable funds or support to be able to get started. And that's for number one. And then what are critical signals of a healthy, investable aquaculture business? Well, the environment, the knowledge, those two things are very important. If you lack the basic knowledge, because I keep talking about the knowledge and skills, and this is what has been working for us, for those of us who have been thriving in the industry for so long. You cannot go into the dark room without a light. And the light into the dark room is knowledge. So for me, I feel it is very important for you to have that as number one. Knowledge, 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 and then finance to be able to actually invest profitably in aquaculture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sejiro. What other things should one take into consideration in deciding whether or not to invest in aquaculture business?
Okay, first and foremost, I just want to say categorically that our culture business is about the vast uh, business areas anybody can venture into with so many opportunities. I used to tell people that if I come back to this world over and over again, I still study fisheries and still practice aquaculture because the opportunities are just so enormous. We just need to have access to the right information. And so before we can decide that, okay, for instance, the aquaculture phase is not meant for people that are professionals alone or people that got skilled by virtue of career alone. It is a space that virtually all the endeavors, all the fields of endeavors can carve a niche, can practice, can do business. If you are a civil engineer, you can decide to go into fund design, construction, farm construction, and the rest. If you are an engineer, there are areas of you can find space in agriculture. If you are a nutritionist, there are a whole lot you can do in the aquaculture space. If you are a biologist, there are a whole lot you can do in the aquaculture space. If you are an IT professional, there are a lot you can do in the aquaculture space. So there is no skill that cannot be employed in aquaculture. It's now left to you, like you said, self-appraisal is very, very important. You need to know the strength you carry. You need to know what you have. For instance, you can't be living in Banana Island now and you'll be thinking of going into production because you don't have the space there. But in that location you have a good market there. So such you can identify that okay, you have a market around there, but you don't have the space to go into production. So once you do such appraisals, you know where to really fit in. You can just be if you have a flair for a veterinary, you can be a fish pathologist. If you understand, there are a lot of challenges in the industry. We need fish pathologists, people just like fish medicine. If you want to study human medicine and you do not have that opportunity and you find yourself studying fisheries, why not just be a fish doctor and you'll be in business? So there are a whole lot. If you want to study architecture and you didn't have the opportunity to study architecture to practice, why not just go into farm design and construction? A whole lot of opportunities in the agriculture space for everyone to tap into. That's all I'm going to say as regards that for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've answered question regarding choosing the right aquaculture-based agribusiness to venture into. We have looked at understanding the aquaculture markets. We have looked at starting an aquaculture agribusinesses and investing in an aquaculture agribusiness. We'll go on short break now. And when we are back, we will entertain questions from our audience. One of the problems that is faced by young entrepreneurs who want to venture into aquaculture is cost. It is highly expensive to establish.
Perhaps Mr. Sejiro will want to answer the question while we get Prof back. The question on the screen. One of the problems that is faced by young entrepreneurs who want to venture into aquaculture is cost. It is highly expensive to establish. Is there a quicker way of venturing into it? You have the screen, Mr. Sejiro.
Okay, trust or cost?
Cost.
Okay, cost.
Yes.
Okay, that's the cost of production. Okay, one of the problems that is faced by young entrepreneurs who want to venture into agriculture is the cost. It is highly expensive to establish. Is there a cheaper way of venturing into it? Exactly. There's no venture that does not require cost or price to be paid. You just need to know what your financial muscles are, or the kind of financial muscles you have. You don't need to start big. You need to start gradual. You need to start with what you have. The thing that is, I'm going to tell you my story, how I started. I started as a student, 200 level student. I had the skills before I gained the admission, and 200 level, I was already a consultant, and I was making little proceeds. It was that little proceeds I was making that I was planning back to setting up my facility. Now, Sedge Farm is a household name, but I didn't just start overnight. I started with fingerlings production, a backyard thing, and I've learned through the ropes over the years to get to where I am now. In fact, I'm not even where I envisaged or where I'm looking at, but I'm somewhere. So you need to get started first. Once you have the right skills, definitely there are a lot of services you can render in the agriculture space that will give you the capital base to start up. So cost should not be a problem. Then if you look at the financial strength you have, if you need to start with just 1,000, because to me, my philosophy is anything doing is worth doing well. Business is all about turnover. If you sell one product and you make 1 naira, that means if you sell 10 products, you're going to make 10 naira. And that is where the money is. But if you want to start, don't bite more than you can chew. Start with what you have. If it's 500 pieces of fish you want to start with it. Then once you make your first sales, then you have experience that you can now. Some people, they start with so much money, they have so much funds, and they fail because they don't have the right skills. And some, they don't even have the money, the funds, but they start with the little skills they have, and the little funds grows into some big. So to me, I'll just say start with the little you can have, but mind you, don't go borrowing, taking loan to start any aquaculture venture or any business at all, except you are sure of what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sejiro. That's a very, 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 very good contribution. Mckay, do you have one or two things to add to what they have said?
You really want to go into that field, you don't necessarily have to start with production. You can start with processing. Processing would mean that you can use little funds to start, then sell, and whether you are selling to have the idea or things that you are into production, so you can do that. You can also go into some other models within the aquaculture uh, value chain. However, there's something that is trending, apart from the fact that most young entrepreneurs now, they for them to be able to access funds, because really there's no harm in accessing funds. It's just about knowing what you want to do with it, and you get expert advice all the way through. They work together in groups to ensure that they're able to access funds. That's number one. And then what is trending now is the off-taker system. You find out that for most people that are into production now, as a result of their market research, they already know where they are selling their products to. And you find it in so many instances where the off-taker funds the production, for these young entrepreneurs. And at the end of the day, they make their small profit. They are in the business, they get more skill, and the business starts from there and it grows. Also, our young entrepreneurs, what we need to do now is that most of the young guys we have out there, they spend more time on the system, doing all sorts. If these projects keep coming up here and there, it's not every time, it's not everybody that benefits from projects, but you find so many projects that come up and that give grants and all sorts of assistance to young entrepreneurs. So what I would advise is that you stick to the media, e-media, and find out what is there that will help you with the aquaculture business. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for these questions, for answers provided. Uh, 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 to
Okay.
this question. Uh, I want to see if we have more questions from our audience. Okay. How do I overcome weather challenges in fish production? The cold weather in Jos is not helping matter. Steve.
All right, sir. Gloria Abbott. Jos is a very, very cold region, especially during the extreme weather conditions in Nigeria. And the type of fish you culture also matters, or the stage of fish you culture, let me put it that way. If you are into archery production, can you hear me? All right. If you are into archery production, I would advise that you reach out to get what we call an inline heater. What the inline heater does is to regulate your water temperature. Once your water temperature drops below 18 degrees centigrade, your fish will not be able to eat. And that means in no time you begin to lose them. And so, but your inline heater would allow your water temperature that can be regulated to about 22 degrees, 23 degrees, and that is very optimal. Even 20 degrees is still very optimal for your fish to survive. But if you operate an outdoor system where you do not have a control on the weather, for example, the eating pond, you will be left with no choice because you have a lot of high volume or water volume, and you'll be left with no choice than to watch the weather to feed your fish. In temperate regions of the world, where you won't have iceberg covering your water, sometimes farm owners break the iceberg and send in feed through mechanisms to get the feed down to a strata where the fishes can swim to pick the fish. That's in extreme temperate regions. So for you operating the outdoor system, if it's were to be the heating pond or larger concrete tanks that you don't have a control for your water temperature, you have to watch the weather. As soon as the sun comes up, rises, or the temperature gets better, you will feed your fish, because fishes will not respond to food when the water is extremely cold. That's for the adult fish. And I want to assume that your fingerling fish or your fry that you're trying to produce are being produced indoor. So for the indoor system, you can use your inline heaters, your water heaters that are specifically designed for aquaculture for you to be able to get good results. Thank you.
Maybe last question. This is the last question we'll be able to take because our time is not in our favor. It's coming from A.H. Zubairu. What's of branding, digital marketing in aquaculture, a necessity to incorporate to the business which already is capital intensive? Sejiro, please quickly respond.
Okay, what of branding, digital marketing in okay. Yes, there are a whole lot you can do in the digital space when it comes to advertising what you have or your services. And we have different digital platforms where you can do that. You have different marketing agents too that can do that for you. Your presentation, packaging too, it's very, very important because if you have good products and you don't have good packaging and presentation, I don't think it's going to be attractive enough. In fact, it's not going to, you can't add good posting to it. So whatever you're doing, you need to see how you push it out there in terms of publicity, making it available, making it go viral, making it, letting it reach out, not necessarily on the social media space, but even physically. You need to see how you come up with, let's say, a fish shop. Go to maybe you have fish shops in highbrow areas in the country where you can set up your small fish shops. You can have mobile fish trucks that will do your marketing for you. you need to have a website, you need to have a page where you do your advertisements, and a whole lot. Which a necessity to incorporate to the business, which already is capital intensive. You don't have to be the one doing all of that too. You can employ or seek the services of marketing agents to do that for you. If you feel what you've invested already is expensive, why not contract your sales or your marketing to agents that can do that? Then one aspect of aquaculture that I want young people to look at, like what the madam from the LSA, Madam Olaju Mckay said too, that you don't need to have all the money. As a young person, you can put all of your investment. If you have 100,000, if you have 50,000, you can just venture into supply brokerage. When you can be trusted, you can walk up to farms or your mentors, people that have trained you, and you get these things from them at, in fact, less to nothing. That's what I do for some of my students, some of the people who train here. They are also my agents to us. They come pick at no cost, go to sell, then come back with the funds, and they go with their proceeds. So, and we need to start seeing fish too in the hold dogs too. Now people start packaging fish and selling in the hold dogs. I think that's important. Then finally on that too, I have some few things. I'm like, when Prof was giving an overview of some of the derivatives that we have. This is fish fillet, as you can see. The boneless fish is all packaged, and this is attractive enough. It can sell anywhere. If this is seen on the social media space, I think it's going to attract anybody. This is fish egg, processed fish egg. Also, you can see is presentable, and this is fish cracker. This is fish cracker too, all made from fish. And you won't expect me to start selling this everywhere, but as young people that you have little funds, you can come pick this up in few quantities, and you are on the street or you are different places selling this, and you make your proceeds and you bring
Thank
the
you,
money.
Mr. Sejiro. Our time is up. It's a wrap up. I'm sorry we will not be able to take more questions, but you can be rest assured that your question will be collated, and answers will be provided through the expert at the end of the program. The question and answer session was very impactful, and the same with other sessions. But we have come to the end of this session now. We've had an amazing time sharing our experiences, and we hope you have picked up one or two tips for yourself. As we go, I'll leave you with this piece of advice. Think aqua business. Invest in aqua business to generate wealth. However, there must be adequate business plan, determination, right attitude, passion, and commitment to ensure success at each node of aquaculture business enterprise. Thank you for joining this session on the business of aquaculture. I want to thank all the panelists. Have a pleasant day ahead. God bless you, and bye.
There's a story to be told, a future to behold. There is more to who we are than what they hear. We have love within our soul, fire in our bones. We've got everything it takes to make it here. There's much more within our soil, more than just our oil. We can grow the food to feed the whole world square. Agriculture is the key. There's treasure in the trees. The it's ours. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealthy. Oh yeah. So this is our nation, this is our land.